Welcome to Ascension with V, where we talk about spiritual awakening, ascension, and everything in between. I'm your host, Stashia Jeanette, aka V, and today we have a special guest who's about to take us on a unique journey with their gifts and experiences and everything that they do. Dr. Rick Diamond, thank you for being here. Please introduce us and tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and what your spiritual awakening process has been like.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. Thank you. It's so nice to meet you and connect with you, and thank you for the good work you're doing for all of us,
Likewise.
for the collective, for the whole thing. It's all happening. So thank you, and thank you for having me on.
Of course.
I was a college English teacher for 10 years, and my favorite moment was when people would say, "Oh, wait a minute, this is for me," as opposed to, "Okay, I have to memorize this for the test." Like something
Yes.
would shift, and
Yes.
like a poem would make sense to them, or suddenly the sentence they had just written, they would see it and think, "This is me expressing myself. What's happening?"
Yeah.
Like they were having these little mini awakenings or big awakenings, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. And then in my late 20s and early 30s, and it often happens to people in their late 20s and early 30s that they have some sort of awakening process. And mine was that I started to have spiritual experiences that I didn't explain. And I was living in East Texas, which is kind of like the deep South. My family and I were going to a nice little neighborhood church, and they didn't have any vocabulary for this. And this is a long time ago. This is the late 80s, early 90s. There was no internet. I mean, there was an internet, but so it's not like I could just go find
You weren't
resources.
Googling.
No, no. I saw God, but it was a tree on a cliff in a vision when I was sitting by myself. It's not a Google search that
Right.
existed. I mean, I didn't.
Right.
So,
No. Yeah.
so the good thing is that the pastor of this little church we were going to was actually like a big, deep thinking guy who had studied
Oh,
widely and was a theologian
okay.
who was sort of, assigned to being the little local church pastor guy, but he recognized he must have seen something cooking in my head, or
Yeah.
smelled something, or I don't know
Saw
what
the,
it
the
was.
wheels turning.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And he started, and we were part of the young couples Sunday school class, and I was like, grew up going to church. I don't know that I believe any of this stuff. And they said it doesn't matter, because I guess I taught at the college, so they thought, well, just teach us whatever.
Right.
And what this amazing pastor, whose name was Lawrence Culver, said was, what if you started to think about the scriptures as stories and myths? And
Yeah.
I just was like, I'm sorry, what's happening right now?
Right. Like,
And can I do that? Will I go to
yeah.
hell
Is
if I
that a
do that?
thing?
Yeah, is that real?
What?
And I started on a spiritual journey that continued and continued and continued. I ended up going to seminary, leaving college teaching, becoming a minister for 10 years in a
Whoa.
regular, neighborhood churches, which in some ways was a great, beautiful fit for me, because I loved the teaching piece. And again, that awakening, those
Right.
moments where somebody would go, "Oh, wow, this is for me. Like I can, oh, I loved bringing the scriptures or the stories to life, but reframing them so that this was about something big and mythic and cosmic and beautiful and universal." And then somebody would come in and say, "Well, we didn't make sure that the chairs were in the right order for the meeting in the parlor." And I'd just be like, "I'm not down for this.
This
What
is
am I
not
even
it.
doing here?
Right. Like,
This is not."
no, no,
And
because you're
so
you're missing it. Yeah.
I was not. It was a wrong fit for how I was growing and what was happening to me. And I kept having more and more of these mystical experiences, and they would happen when I would be sitting with somebody and we'd be talking, and I would feel like the veil get thin. I would feel something
Yes.
invisible
Yeah.
happening, and or I would know, somebody would know exactly what to say to me, or I would know exactly what to say to them, and neither of us knew where that came from. And
Yeah.
the definition of the church, which was God or Holy Spirit or something, I found interesting but not sufficient. And
Yes.
so I just started studying more and more and more. And I studied Native American spirituality and other indigenous spiritualities. I studied Hinduism. I studied Buddhism. I fell in love with the Buddha. I fell in love with the idea of the awakened one. And then I began to see that Jesus was an awakened one. And then I
Yeah.
began to see that Mary Magdalene was an
It
awakened
was an
one. And
awakened
then it
one.
was like, what is where
What?
are we?
Yes. What?
I started doing men's work and getting in touch with feelings. So on the one hand, I was going into this spiritual place, but on the other hand, I was also getting like into my body and into my emotions and into being emotionally honest in the place where I was. And that was really
Huge.
different for me. It's huge, huge, huge. So all that was happening in my 30s and 40s. And then I left regular organized religion, and a group of friends, a group of beautiful, beautiful people said, hey, could we just start a little faith community? And we started an experimental, funky, everybody's welcome, we don't know anything,
Yeah.
open source, collaborative community. And I led it here in Austin for 17 years. And
What?
it was a place where people could bring their questions, and we were socially active and working for social justice and for welcoming everybody, and everybody was important. And it was really fun, and it was really hard because everybody was
Yeah.
bringing all their humanness, which is beautiful, and I was bringing my humanness, and I'm working through all my stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was growing and evolving, and it was great. And I was also being broken over and over and over again,
Yeah.
which was part of the
It's
growing
part of it.
process. It's
It's
good.
part of it.
So I did that for 17 years. I got divorced and married the wife that I'm married to now, whose name is Christina Wisdom. Ta-da! She's perfect. I'm just saying. And for a couple of years, we lived here in Austin, then we moved to Santa Fe and realigned and did some resetting. And that was during COVID and all that stuff. I left ministry and I said, what is the thing that I believe in most, more than anything else? And I knew it was people's awakening.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
And I thought, how can I help people with that? And so I became what I call now a story healer, which is I listen to people tell parts of their story or their beliefs about themselves or their beliefs about God, or their beliefs about the world, beliefs about their own limitations, all the expectations, all
Right.
the restrictions, all of the stuff that's been placed on them. And then we just go through a process of saying, first of all, let's go back into your heart. Let's open your heart. Let's quiet the mind, open the heart, like Ram Dass says, and let's see. Byron Katie says, is this true? Right? Ask the question. What I ask is, where did this story come from? What is this story giving you? How is this story limiting you? What could you choose instead? And we go through this really beautiful process, and I absolutely never know what's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
so great. It's
Yeah.
so great because their soul knows, their higher self knows. Like we call in their
Exactly.
higher self and my higher self and angels and helpers and whoever else is available,
Yeah.
and we just say, like, what is the wisdom we need right now? We call him the sacred feminine because she can hold everything. We call him the
Yeah.
sacred masculine so it can help direct us. And I get to do this now for the rest of this incarnation, as far as I can tell. So that's
Yeah.
where I'm at.
That's insane. So at what point did you know like, hey, this is what I'm meant to be doing? Like this story healing. And how did you come up with the concept of like, okay, this is what I'm gonna like package it as? Because I feel like that's so difficult for us. Like when you're when you're a multidimensional being and you're good at like you've brought multiple lifetimes of gifts and abilities here
Right.
with you, and now you're like which one do I, and then how do I package all that it is into like one
Yeah.
thing? How did
Yeah.
you come to that point?
It's a great question. I did a really smart thing, which is I asked a friend who is a very wise woman, who's a magic woman, deep, deep, mysterious wisdom.
Yeah.
Her name is Wendy. She's a singer-songwriter, Wendy Colonna. Here, she lives outside Austin, and we've known each other for years because of the church world and the spirituality world. But she's
Right.
also a business coach, and she works with creatives, and she works with artists, and she works with musicians, and the people who are really right brain and trippy and blah blah blah. And she says, okay, do you have a business idea, and do you have a business concept, and do you know what this is? And I was like, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I'm just like rah, 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 rah. And I will also say that when I left ministry, it felt like the right time to leave ministry for me, just in my heart. And I did a big discernment process around it. And then I went through a lot of ego death. Like there was a lot of the letting go of, well, this is what you were for 30 years. Like, what are you
Exactly.
now? And that question you just asked about, well, so how do I figure out what to do now?
Yeah.
And through lots of spiritual work, working with my amazing spiritual director who lives in Santa Fe, other friends in my men's circle, and working with Wendy's questions, the question kept coming up: what is the gift that you have to give?
Hmm.
Don't jump ahead to the hows. Stay with the awareness around, like in your heart, like in the deep place where you are called,
Yeah.
something that is in you that like that what resonates, what comes to life, what's
Right.
life giving, what's
Right.
joy infusing. Then if you keep coming back to that, when I kept coming back to that over and over and over, the hows, it turns out the universe was figuring out the hows
The
the
how.
whole time. It
Yeah.
was putting it together. It was connecting me to the right people. It was bringing the right people into my orbit. It was opening the right doors. I got invited to go to lead a men's retreat, which I had done in the church world, but I hadn't done in this open
Like
world.
spiritual
And
world.
right, and now I got to try that out, and it was amazing because I got to do something different and new, and it was scary, and it was
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
and the whole thing kept being scary and fun. And
Yeah.
so for me, it was really about taking another step and then taking another step and taking another step and then knowing deeply, deeply, doing a lot of meditating,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
quieting, a lot of listening, and trusting that God, source, spirit, the universe, the angels, heart,
Yeah.
higher self, it already knew the way. I
Yeah.
didn't need to figure this out. I didn't need to fix it.
Yeah.
And if something wasn't happening that I thought was supposed to be happening, then maybe it wasn't supposed to be happening and I was
Exactly.
mistaken.
Exactly. Exactly. And I feel like that's something that I say frequently now, that we're moving from the kind of old system of leading from head to moving to
Mm,
leading from heart. But it's that exactly what you said of, if like you think that something should be happening like a certain way or at a certain time even, like, and it's not happening, maybe it's just not supposed to
right,
be happening. It's not for you. It's not for your
right.
highest good or your highest purpose or your highest timeline. But that is that your mind can F you so much.
Man, man, oh man. Plus, I mean, can we just say it? I'm also a well-educated old white man, in which case I am the patriarchy and I am rational thinking and I am, the left brain,
Yeah.
figure it all out, have a spreadsheet, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
And I mean, the Divine Mother had to break my ass about that
Yeah.
many times, which was great. I mean, I needed to let go of.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because my spiritual study and my study of Jesus and the way he sees the world and the way the Buddha sees the world had told me all along when we would be in church meetings, we would be really serious and we're going to do such and such and we're going to
Yeah.
decide such and such. And we were all in that left brain energy. And I would say, or you know what we're going to do? We're just all going to eat a cookie and we're going to sit. We have to break out of this thing that we think is supposed to
Yeah. The
happen now.
thing.
And so I've been practicing this all along. Like I've been practicing this for 40 years, but
Yeah.
to be able to have the freedom to do it in a way where now I just say, I mean, my prayer literally is send me who I'm supposed to help and send me the people who can help me help those people and send me the resources. And I don't hustle. I don't sell. And I have clients all over the world and I'm leading retreats and I've written a book about my spiritual awakening and story work as a
Yeah.
tool. And
Yeah.
an agent just contacted me this week. So I'm just, I'm just, it's, it's
It's just
there.
because you're following your north node, you're following your blueprint, your soul's thing. Like, also, I have this concept, and I say it all the time, that people who have a really good heart and soul with pure intentions to just help the highest good of all will always be helped. Always. And I feel like you're a prime example of that. Literally, there's also this thing of where I'm speaking on it frequently, where the old way of, what you just said, kind of like this hustle culture, this,
Mhm.
like, I need to be out here, contact client this, contact prospect, whatever,
Right. All
prospecting,
that.
text these people, reach out to this person, post this of this and that, and it's not it. And I've had a lot of, like you said, like, businessmen kind of approach me with, like, you need to have this, that, and the third to in order to be successful and do this, and my entire soul rebels it.
I get it.
It's not
Yes.
like, because that's
Right.
not where we're at anymore. And literally, as you just said, the right people, look, like you and I, do you know what I'm saying?
It's happening right now.
It's literally like, this is literally what I'm saying, you know what I mean? But when I tell people that, I remember right before I launched my LLC, when I was building that and I was going through that whole process, the business mentor, or my business coach, was like, so you mean to tell me that he's like, so you're just not going to put in any kind of physical action? You're not going to do X, Y, and Z? He's like, so what's the plan here? I was like, I don't have the plan, but God, source, universe has the plan. And like in the entire, literally though, but literally, and then everybody, like, I was the only female in this business meeting. It was me and three
Mm-hmm.
other men. And they were all like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah. And they're like, so what are you going to do what's your promoting budget? And I was like, zero.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what
Mm-hmm.
do you mean? You can't not promote yourself. And I was like, yeah. I was like, it's called energetic marketing. The right people who are meant for me I said, because I'm being my authentic self and stepping into who I'm meant to be, I was like, it will just come to me. And they were all
Absolutely.
like, that's not going to work. And I was like, well, that's fine. I was like, you can just sit back and watch. And then here we are.
Here
Do you
we
know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Absolutely. And I want to honor you for that too, because as a woman, you're having to be even more bold,
Right.
right? In saying, wait a minute, I know that this is the system, and I know that this is the thing, and I know this is a man's world, and I know this is how I know model is supposed to work.
Right.
My experience is that when I have those, now we're going to work on your funnel, now we're going to work on your da-da-da, now we're going to work on your promotions and how many whatever. The last time I sat down and looked at some of those questions and thought about, okay, do I need to be applying some of this stuff to my plans for 2025? I burst into tears.
Literally same. That's how it was with me. Like I had a conversation recently with, and I, I feel morally conflicted about like saying it this way, but it just is what it is. Like it's not that I'm ungrateful of people wanting to, and because I feel like they think they're really
I know.
trying to,
I know.
but it's it's not me being stubborn. It's not me thinking that like I know best, but like it's just not for me.
It's not
I'm
for you. It
not
doesn't fit.
there. I'm not there. That's not what I'm doing, and that's not where the world is going. Like that split has happened. You know what I mean? And there's some people who are still
Absolutely.
building, pouring into that old thing, and it's nothing else is being poured back into that old world. Like, so it's no longer sustainable. There's no more
Mm,
growth that's going to happen here. And my focus is here, right? Like doing everything this way. But it's the businessmen that were successful. Let me say it right. The businessmen that were successful,
right.
and even some women. Like there's
Right.
been some business women who have given me this same kind of thing, but they built their like multi millions from the old world perspective. Like I said,
Right.
the funnels, the
Yep.
promoting, all the
Yep.
things, right?
Yep. All that.
All this thing, and they're like, you're not going to be successful. Or they'll also say like, well, look how long it's taking you. Yes, but easy come, easy go.
Mm-hmm.
You
For
might have
sure.
taken the escalator or elevator up in the old world, and those things might have worked for you, but like I'm building something sustainable that hasn't been done before. So with
And
all due respect, I'm gonna do my own thing.
thank you. Thank you. I honor you for that, for
Yeah.
real. And
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the story of David and Goliath when David
Yeah.
rolls up with his little slingshot and
Yes.
King Saul says, okay, we got to put all the armor on you so that you can go out and fight this giant.
Yeah.
And this Jewish scripture is so clear. This kid, when the armor that is expected for the way the world works is put
Yeah.
on him, he can't function. He becomes immobile. It doesn't fit him.
Exactly.
And he says,
Ex-
I'm not doing this. And he just takes it all off,
yeah.
walks out in his tunic and his slingshot, and knocks the giant down, right? There
Yeah.
is this sense in which the spiritual, the emotional, the part of us that is eternal is never supposed to fit into those stories, those models, those frameworks. And I know that those frameworks exist because that's what people were taught and that's what they know. And so they
Right.
turn around and they impose those on the rest of us because that's what they believe. I get it. You said a few minutes ago, I know they're trying to help. I know they're trying to tell me
Right.
but here's the thing. When people can't see
Yeah.
what is possible,
Right.
then they are not going to get it. And I've talked to lots of people, spiritual people, creative people, who just say, when is my mom going to get this? When is my boyfriend going to get this? When are my people going to understand why I'm taking this path? And the answer is maybe never. It
Maybe
doesn't
never.
matter.
Right.
It has to be for you. Whatever is for you, you have to stick to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I really believe that.
Yeah. And again, like I made a video the other day because I was driving home from an appointment and God Source Universe asked me, like, why are you doing this, V? Like, why are you doing the things that you do every day that a lot of people don't even know that you're doing? Why are you doing this? And like my smart ass immediately was like, because you told me to, you know. But then they're, right, because that like you don't tell the big boss no. Like I learned
Hello.
that lesson. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, answer. So why are what is it really? And again, it's because like I feel the need to number one be kind of the example. There's a lot of the fake, the false prophets, the false leaders, the false things out here, right? And so I'm just out here trying to be the example of like there are still good ones, and I'm trying to just lead by example
Yes.
and do, but I have unwavering faith, and my unwavering faith is literally all that I've had and all that's gotten me through all of my health conditions and all the stuff from 5 to 30, you know what I mean? So that's all I have, and my ability to stay 10 toes down on
Mm-hmm.
on a path where literally I couldn't see anything. I had no proof that anything was going to work out. I had no proof that I was going to survive my 7 resuscitations and all the near death experiences and all the I had no proof of that, but like I had faith. You know what I mean? This is exactly it's the epitome of walking by faith and not
Yeah.
by sight.
Yeah.
Literally
Absolutely.
every single day. And but that's something that a lot of people can't do. And it's kind of like, I guess I would assume this is how probably, Noah felt building an ark.
Absolutely.
Everyone on the outside is like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Hey, the flood's coming, man. I was told I gotta build the ark.
What are y'all doing?
What are y'all doing, right?
You don't know what you don't.
You
Well,
didn't get the
whatever.
memo? You
Right.
didn't hear the news? You didn't?"
And what happened? But you're exactly right. Thank you for sharing all of that. The hardest thing sometimes is to say, I don't have any evidence of this, and yet actually I do have evidence of this. Like all
Right.
we have to do is just change our lens for what we're looking at,
Yeah.
and to think about what actually we believe in, that
Yeah.
we know that we know that we know.
Yeah.
But the way the world measures things, it's really, and okay, so then when you and I are rich and famous, quote unquote, someday,
Right.
then that's going to be, now that'll be the proof.
Right.
Then God, Source, Universe is going to say, seriously, did you think
So
that's
so
what it
that's
was
it.
about? Yeah. Oh, that's it. I'm like, that's not it either. That's not what this is
Exactly.
about. So that's just another way for people to try and prove something in a way that gives them comfort, or that they feel like they can control. That's
Right.
not it. That's not
That's
how
not
God
it.
sees
It's
the
really
world.
not.
It's not.
No.
It's just not.
And then also it's the thing of I think everybody wanting to have kind of that external validation. That's a thing though, really. I mean, nobody wants to be like just doing stuff and then never like, you know what I mean? And then like
Yeah.
nobody ever says like, "Hey, that's no." It doesn't matter how much soul searching and shadow work that you've done. That'll always be a thing of where like I just hope this helps somebody. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
That's a real thing,
And so for
but
me, that prayer about me saying to the universe, send me the people I'm supposed to help, and also send me the people and the resources to help me do that.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's one person saying what you're just talking about, just giving me that little, hey,
Yes.
hey, this really helped today, or thank you so much,
Yes.
or this was really meaningful.
Yes.
And I'm not relying on that to do this because it's coming from within. And at the same
Right.
time, it helps.
It's
I'll
great.
take it.
Yes.
I'll take
That's
it.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. I've also had people say, like, if you're not getting cash flow in and you're not getting paid and you're not like getting this, that, and the third for the things that you're doing, then like you're only just being wishfully inspirational and that's it's not really helping anyone because you don't really have any like monetary proof of like what you're and I'm like, is
Is
that
that
it?
is that it? I
But is
mean,
that
is that
it?
it?
Is that it?
I
I'm like, because
mean,
I don't think
look, just drive through the richest part of town. Just
yeah,
drive through it. And
yeah,
then one of the things that is really important, I think, for all of us that are awakening spiritually and that are trying to live in a way that is that is attuned to something deeper. Just
right.
look at every one of those big, fancy, perfect, beautiful mansions and think
Yeah.
there is so much pain and fear and sadness
It is.
in that big box right there.
It is.
It just is.
It
That
is.
is just. I mean, all that stuff is not free.
Right.
All that fancy stuff costs
Right.
something. So
Right.
we have this idea in our culture, and it's not new. I mean, it's supercharged in our culture, but it's not new.
Right.
I mean, we have this idea that somehow that's going to make it okay, or that's going to take away the loneliness, or that's going to make us
Correct.
feel safe,
Right.
and that's not it. Because
Yeah, exactly.
every other neighborhood, when you look at the apartment buildings or the condos or the tent cities or the houses or the suburbs or the whatever, just think about with compassion. There's so much pain and there's so much fear in that house too, and in that tent too, and in that apartment too. That doesn't mean there's not also joy, but it's not as if when they get into the big, pretty place and
Right.
everything is perfect. That's not it. Like
That's
that's
not it.
upside down.
Yeah.
So that can't be the measure either. That's not it.
Right.
That can't be what it's about.
Right. But again, I think it's just the like I said, like this the split that has happened here where it's kind of I always give the example and everyone will hear me say it about like the comparison of the Flintstones and the Jetsons, right? Like I always use it in like the in like ascension terms, right? So the theory is that the Flintstones and the Jetsons lived at the same time, like existed at the same time on the same planet. But like the Flintstones went through some apocalyptical situation that set them back to the Stone Age and the Jetsons knew about it and got prepared and they lived above just like in the sky, but the
Yes.
Flintstones were the ones that did not prepare. Like in ascension terms, it's like the Flintstones were the ones that chose to not ascend and the Jetsons were the ones that chose to ascend, but they lived at the same place at the same time and it's like that split has happened and you have like it like the clash of the two worlds, but it's like the people who have chosen to stay in like the Flintstones world like don't know that that's what's about to happen to that world and
Yeah.
that system,
Yep.
and they're still like screaming at the Jetsons people like, hey, you idiot, you're doing it the wrong way. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
that's like the banter that's I felt it. And again, in building my business and doing what I'm doing now, again, we talked about it like me just now coming out into the world and being like, so like this is what I'm doing now, like and so just now from getting to that point of entering the physical business world of things, I have felt the pull from both sides
Absolutely.
where everyone's like, you should be doing it this way, you're doing it the wrong way, but not knowing it's a like you're on the Flintstone path.
Hmm. Don't
You
y'all
can't
see?
tell me
Mm-mm.
you don't
Mm-mm.
know. You
Mm-mm.
don't
In the faith community that I led all those years, we were so committed. We said we only had one doctrine, and it was that Jesus said, love God and love people. Like that was
right.
it. Like that was all we were trying to do. And the whole purpose of the community, its existence was to help us love spirit, love God, love the divine, and love each other and honor each other. And everything that we did, we would always use as as that was the test for that. And all of us had to do the very same process that you were talking about within ourselves and communally. How much of the stuff that I'm, this bag of stuff, the
Yeah.
expectations that I'm dragging in here, how much of that is surface level, control level, church as a business? How are we maximizing what's our strategic growth plan? Blah,
That
blah, 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 blah. And then somebody would wake up and say, what are we doing? Like, what is this? Like,
is
we
this?
need, it's just time to have a party. We need to, whatever.
Right.
And I mean, that happened during the Great Recession. That happened during my co-pastor died suddenly a week before Christmas in 20, was that 2009? I mean, there were all kinds of things that happened in the human world, in real life, in an organization of a few hundred people that were hard, that were challenging, that were struck. The question always came back to, and this is the question for every person, I think, what's the thing inside of you that is guiding you? And whatever the noise is, and whatever the expectations are, and whatever the story is, and whatever the limitations are, just test them.
Yeah.
Just test them. Is this the truth? Okay. All right. Well, we need to be doing it this way because this is the way the world measures things. Well, okay, then we'll make that.
Yeah.
Is that what we want to make? I mean,
Is
that's
that
really
is that
it.
what we're doing?
Is that what we're doing? Like, if
Yeah.
we want to make that thing, we can make that thing. Do you guys want to make that thing? Is that
Yeah.
what
Is
we're
this the
doing?
consensus?
That's a real, do you know what I mean? Like, and it's hard. It's not
Yeah.
an easy, it's not automatic. It was really, and it,
Difficult.
for all of us, I think that is this spiritual struggle. Jesus uses this idea of a carved wooden yoke that you put on an ox's neck and shoulders, and the ox pulls the cart or the plow or the whatever.
Yeah.
And he says, if the yoke that has been put on you doesn't fit, if it's not carved correctly, if it was carved by a bad carpenter, or it was carved for the wrong ox,
Yeah.
it's going to rub you raw and it's not going to
Right.
fit. And he says, but the yoke that I will put on you will be easy. It will
Yeah.
fit. It will be smooth. That, for me, is another way to know. That's a
Yeah.
test, right?
Yes,
Does this fit
exactly.
or does this not fit? If you know this doesn't fit,
Yeah. That ain't it.
that's not it.
It's not it. Yeah, it's exactly like you said, like when you were talking about the going over the business plans and the things and you just like started crying. Literally, that's me.
Yeah,
Every time
for
my
real.
my heart, my ability to feel at a supernatural level has been my greatest gift, and I always call it like my sonar system. So like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what something is physically perceiving as, like my sonar system can pick it up. Like, so say something is presenting as like a giraffe, but like the sonar is reading it as like it's like a squirrel, but they're like presenting as a giraffe. I'm like, nah, that's a squirrel,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
like I can feel inherently, when something is right, wrong. And whenever something is wrong, literally, like you said, like my entire body's like, mm-mm,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
not it.
Right.
Can't.
We all have that. It's just
Yes,
that along the way, it gets tamped down. It gets
yes,
silenced. They say, behave yourself, quit being weird. Don't say that. That's strange, whatever,
yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
But the thing about what you just described about yourself is the courage to be able to say, wait a minute, that's a squirrel,
yeah,
everybody. That's a squirrel. On the one hand, that resonates within you, right? You go, I know that, okay, I spoke that.
yes,
And then everybody who's invested in that being a giraffe,
correct.
like the gatekeepers will show up and they
Oh, oh,
will correct
facts.
you. Yeah,
Oh,
they
facts.
will. I mean, you will
Yeah,
be corrected. You will be
yeah,
silenced. You will be crucified. You'll be whatever.
yeah.
That is this struggle. That is
It
what
is.
this is about.
It is. Do you have like other than, like having the courage to continuously push through it, do you have like I don't know, a solution or a tip or I don't know, an advice, a guidance on that? Because I feel like that has been one of my hardest struggles and not even really, because again, I told you prior to us recording about, for 27 years, from 5 to 30, they had thrown kind of like exactly what you said. The gatekeepers showed up. They identified me as like, she's not asleep, and then they gave
That's
me
it.
all the Adderall and the antidepressants again for 27 years. Like, but even through that, I was still like very much like asleep. Well, definitely wasn't where I'm at now, but I could still feel slightly like when stuff I'm here. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm here is what I'm trying to say, but it was more so of like a less conscious manner of me doing things, whereas now I'm very much in the driver's seat and I'm very
Mm-hmm.
intentional, kind of like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
intentional about everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it still feels like I don't know, having the confidence to be able to be like, no, like immediately outwardly there's the, what they call it, the witch wound, of where I can kind of remember past lives of, again, being burned at the stake with my creations, because back in the day it wasn't accepted, or like I said, when I was young it wasn't accepted. And so that's still a thing, I think, for me, that I'm having to start to rewrite my story on. I guess my long question is, do you have guidance or tips on that?
First of all, again, I honor you for being on the path you're on. Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you
Thanks.
from all of us, from the whole thing, from the generations previous and the ones to come. Thank
Yeah.
you. For real.
Thanks.
It's important. It matters.
Thanks.
And you and I can't see, we can see a little. We can't see all of the whole grid of light and the tapestry of the whole universe. And
Right.
this conversation and your determination to be awake and to be a force for light in the world, we can't see all of the ways in which that interconnects to millions of nodes and millions and billions and zillions and however many of connecting pieces. And this little thing awakens, and then this little thing awakens.
Right.
For me, my own practice for staying with that is meditation. Like, for real. That is, for me, the way that I come back to center. I come back
Yeah.
to quiet my mind and open my heart. I come back to listening to what higher self, God, source, spirit, the universe, the angels, my ancestors have to say. I've practiced lots of different healing modalities. I talked about men's work. I've done plant medicine ceremony with psychedelics in a safe environment with a facilitator that was really helpful. I've done past life regression work, and I've done breath work, guided breath work, and all of those are just tools, again, for going back within, back within, back within. And for me, it is always about this out here.
The
I get
noise.
it, right? I get it. It's good. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the whatever.
Right.
How many people are giving me, am I getting the whatever? And for me, it is always, always, always about coming back to this place
Great.
where I know that I know that I know who I am,
That you know.
and surrounding myself with a very few people that I know see me that way too. And they're the people I go to for support. And
Yeah.
that's it.
And that's it. Literally.
For real.
Literally.
For real. I can't
Yeah.
be running around. Are you good? Am I good? Are you okay? Are we okay? Is everything okay? I mean, that's just an energy suck. And
Yeah, it is.
it's just not a healthy, yeah, for me, it's all about going within, and the resources and the riches, the knowing, it is within. Like, that's where
It
it's going
is.
to be. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be a mess. And that's going to be perfect.
Exactly.
Like, the mess is perfect. Like,
It
exactly the
is.
moment that's in front of us is the perfect thing. And I may be a total disaster today.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
But
Hooray.
right.
What would we like to see about this disaster today?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, so you're doing the right thing. I promise you. I promise. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me more about fulfilling our dharma and what is dharma in general.
For me, taking the idea of karma being the thing that brought us to where we are, and dharma being the thing that, for me, the idea of what we do with where we are, when we've satisfied enough of our karma contracts and our agreements so that we can begin to have a fresh page as opposed to editing or redoing the pages that we've
Yeah.
already, whatever. For me, this is connected to the question of calling. It's connected to
Okay.
the question of mission, not
Yeah.
like a mission, like I'm going to go conquer something or
Yeah.
achieve something, but this sense of like, this is something that is drawing me. And, earlier when you said, you were talking about, the idea that there is this thing within us, right? That we feel like is God, source, spirit, asking us, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
Why
What's
are you
happening?
doing
What's
this?
up?
Yeah.
For me, I am moving into my dharma when I am intentional about the actions I'm taking and the choices that I'm making and the things that I'm saying. It's not about, and now I will have this grand thing dude, right? It may be
Right.
that a person's dharma is that they have moved into meaningful action in a setting that doesn't look, and conscious and aware action in a setting that doesn't look impressive, and it doesn't have to look like anything. I've had visions
Exactly.
of my own past lives where I've been in meditation, and I saw that I was a mother caring for a child
Yeah.
with love and joy in a very simple hundreds of years ago.
Right.
And it was joyful, like that moment with this child crying or these things going on in this larger interconnected family system. Or I've seen myself as a soldier in a battlefield who was sort of like in the Bhagavad Gita, like, what is my job right now? What am I supposed to
Yeah.
do?
What am I doing?
How do I respond to this in a way that is true to the deep knowing within me? For me, it's all about the the thing that's in front of me. What
Yes.
is a way to respond to that that is loving, that is courageous, that is truthful, and that is purposeful, and I'm as awake as I can be in this moment.
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to try and figure out what's supposed to happen. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to be with it. One of the most profound spiritual experiences I've had maybe ever was sitting on the beach in Hawaii looking at the ocean.
Literally same. Literally
Like
same. Why is that?
like that was it. And I heard it all, I saw it all, I felt it all, I was in it.
Yes.
I was like, am I supposed to do something right now? And they were all like, just
Yeah.
be quiet, be quiet, be quiet.
Literally. Literally.
It was just like being really tethered to the deep knowing
Yeah.
of my being and remembering that. And the action was to be present, just to be present.
Exactly. And
That's
that's it. We don't have to
that's it.
like overcomplicate it. But again, I think again from this the head to heart thing, but the head's like, this can't be it. It has to be something else. I have to be doing something else. Doing. And it's like going from human doing to human being.
And this little thing in here is always running things.
So
I call it
much.
the air traffic controller. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's always running. Okay, I
Yeah.
get it. Thank you for that. Thank you for reminding
Thanks.
me to tie my shoes. That's good. Whatever.
Right.
But I mean, that's not it. That's just,
No.
those are all the tools. That's the setting. That's the help. That's not
Right.
the point. The point is,
Right.
what is the thing that is meaningful for me to do as awake as I can be in this
Yeah.
moment?
Yes, exactly that.
That's what I got.
It's that I also find it interesting that again, your like one of your profound moments was again like sitting on the beach looking at the ocean. That's me. My home place that feels like soul home is in Santorini, Greece. And
Mm,
I too was just sitting out. They had like this black sand beach and I was just there like toes in the sand, sitting like in the Indian style meditating. The waves were hitting me and I was just like all into it,
that's it.
just all into it. And
That's
that's when
it.
I was like, snap, something's happening. Yeah, it's a thing. It's
What's
because
happening? What's happening?
what's this?
I mean, I'm convinced that when nobody understands what Jesus is talking about, do you know what I mean? Like there are so
Yes,
many moments where he would say a thing like, "Just look at flowers.
exactly.
Consider the lilies." Sounds fancy. Just look at
Yes,
flowers. Just sit with the
yeah.
flowers.
Look
And
at the
everybody's like,
birds.
"What's up, hippie?" He's like, "No, no, no. You're not getting it. Like this is
No, but
it.
for real.
It's right here. No, this is it. This is
Yeah.
it. You're gonna miss it. You're gonna
Yes.
miss it." And we miss
Yes.
it all the time,
All
except
the
when we
time.
don't.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay, so what about soul purpose? What do you feel like is the soul purpose or everybody's individual the explanation of what soul purpose is?
One of the things, I love that question. One of the things that I'm so fascinated by is reading and listening to and watching all of the near death experiencers talking about. I mean, I'm just
Yeah, I was like,
saying, when I look at the idea of whether it's the great mystics in all
yeah,
of the spiritual and religious traditions or the near death experiencers who have touched this and gotten a sense of it and seen it, this idea that we're not this random thing that just happens,
no.
that there is something that we are here to do,
Yeah.
not in a pressured way, like if you don't do it,
Yeah.
you're in trouble. But
Yeah.
I am more and more over the years, the more I've studied this and the more I've thought about it and the more I've heard people tell their stories, I'm convinced that that our souls come here, every incarnation that we come here with an energetic intention. Does that
Exactly.
make sense?
Exactly. Yes.
It's not like it's a checklist. Okay, in this lifetime, I have to do these 9 things, right? And if I
Yes.
don't do them, I'm in trouble. That's in the brain. That's no good.
Right.
But rather, but I mean, I'm convinced that each of us has a soul, the soul that is being
Hmm.
us,
Yes.
that is having the experience of being this human being, is here to feel something, to learn something, to grow into something. And I'm convinced that one way or the other, the door will open, the thing will show up. If I
Yeah.
run from it, it'll
Yeah.
find me another way.
Exactly.
And it will be, I'm going to have the opportunity for my soul somewhere along the way in this incarnation or the next or the next or the next. However, I may screw it up or get in the way. I mean, the universe is smart. You know what I mean? Like
It,
God's source is, it's patient.
it
I
is.
mean, Divine Mother is just like, okay, that's,
Okay.
well, all right, well, you knock that down? I'm going to set it up over here. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, I think sometimes people kind of get in their head about, I need to figure out my purpose or I need to figure out what
That.
I'm
Yes.
supposed to be doing. And
Yes.
I don't believe it's about finding out what we're supposed to be doing. I believe it's about discovering as we go, because our life itself is going to reveal itself
Correct. Right.
as we go. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, that's what that's about. And so it's really about discovery. It's not about
Right.
figuring something out or nailing it down or
Right.
defining something. It's about, like, my soul purpose is being revealed to me as
As I
I'm
go.
living this life, including in the painful parts, including in the
Exactly.
terrible parts, including the parts where I'm like, this can't be right.
Right. This ain't it. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Come on. But this is the thing that's in front of me. So I
Exactly.
need to say this too. When people experience suffering, their response is often to somebody like me,
Why
that
me?
can't be right. This is not right. Like, why
Exactly.
is it, by the way, total side note, why is it that we think, yeah, this is totally what's for me when it's fun? But if
That's
it's
what
something
I'm
bad,
saying.
if we're suffering, then we're like,
Yes.
wait a minute, there's no order in the universe. There's
Yeah.
no
It's
whatever.
that literally. I said that in an interview recently where like I said people often go whenever they go through some things that are like terrible. So I was talking about the things that have happened to me, right? And the question was like how did you maintain your faith and connection to God's source universe through everything that was inherently bad that has
Right,
happened to me? And
right,
like how, like and I said, because one of two things usually happens. Like, either when you go through some really terrible things, like the things that I've gone through in my life, you either have two responses. You either abandon your faith and you're like, why me? Why have you done this? Why have you forsaken me? Why are you doing this to me? Why am I being punished? Why is this and that and the third? And then you like rebel and then you just hate everything because, something happened to you
right.
and, whatever.
Yep.
Something that
Always.
you think is just bad, whatever. Or you cling to it, like you cling to your faith and you get even closer because you're like,
Yeah.
no, I can't do this without you, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
is that side note is literally a thing. People do. They like, how come when stuff is great, it's like, oh, this is great. This is for me.
It's
But
totally
then when
making
it
sense. The universe is so orderly. Look how it's all working out for me. And then
right,
something comes that they don't like. All of a sudden, the universe makes no sense. There is no God. Wow.
this can't be right. I need to
Okay.
speak to HR.
Right. Right. Who's in charge?
Who did this?
I mean, I love the Jewish wisdom book of Job where everything goes wrong for Job. And Job says,
Literally.
I want to talk to God. And God shows up and says, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, where were you when I was creating the universe? Are you in charge here? And Job
Were
is
you
like, you
here?
know what? Okay, then.
All right.
Okay, I'm
All right.
satisfied. And and God honors Job's question. Like, God honors that Job is not just pouring some religious honey sprinkle
Exactly.
dust over the. He's like mad, and he's like, hey, what?
Hey,
This isn't okay with me.
the
And God
hell's
says,
happening here? Yeah.
okay, I'll show up. I'll
Yes.
show up. You want to talk to me? Let's talk. And I
Let's
find
talk.
that's the case too. When people are willing to be in their question and people are willing
Correct.
to be in what they're not certain about and they're willing to be in their struggle,
Yeah.
to your point a minute ago, if they're willing to go into it more deeply, and then I think greater faith and greater trust and greater possibility grows out of the willingness to be in it, as opposed to say, I'm just going to back out. I'm going to self
Yes.
medicate. I'm going to distract
Right.
myself. I'm just going to hide. I'm just going to stay asleep.
Yeah. I'm like,
I
nah.
mean,
You're right.
no,
Nah.
no,
Nah.
no, no,
And
I
also,
don't.
like, I think people frequently ask me this all the time. Like, it's slightly irksome. I'm not gonna lie, but like, it is this the question of So how'd you do it? How'd you get like that? Like, so what incantations or spells did you use? What? What? What do you mean? Man, look at my history. I literally have not erased anything from the parts of my life where I have been in. I've documented my entire life, literally. Before YouTube and Instagram became a thing, like I was recording things, so people can literally just go back and do their own research and see that like I literally went through all the phases. I did things literally the right way, like the by the book way that God source universe was like, go through this. I did my bad stuff. I went through my bad phase, and I went through the like rebellion phase, and I was doing the smoking and the drinking and the partying and all the things. I did the things, but just really young and for a short amount of time, because very quickly I was like, nah, this isn't for me.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
like the point that I tell people is like I didn't do a shortcut. There's no shortcut through this.
There
I
is
got my
no
ass
shortcut.
whooped
Right. There is no shortcut.
frequently. There
Right.
is no shortcut.
No. And don't put it on me that I'm like some holy special snowflake or what. No.
No,
This is for everybody. This is real.
for real,
Yeah.
for real. Like
Yeah.
I have been in these spiritual trenches, getting my ass whooped out here. Like rite of passage and initiation is really a thing, and it's not just like you
And
go through it one time. Like it's
no,
constant.
no.
It's constant. Like, and it doesn't have to be like if you just wish to stay stagnant and like not grow anymore, fine. But like if you're continuously seeking to grow and level up and ascend more and more, whatever the case may, you're going to experience constant death and rebirths, initiations and rite of passages. You're gonna get your ass whooped across the like
That's it.
it's it
Like
is
that's it.
literally part of it.
It is. And so
Yes,
it's not like we're not here as spiritual teachers to somehow circumvent, get around, avoid the process. The process of our life and our suffering and our joy is how we become fully who we were created to be.
correct,
The whole
correct.
thing. The whole
Yes,
thing. And
the
somebody that's selling
suffering.
something different, no.
No, no, like I see frequently where a lot of people are like, it's all just love, light, and rainbows over here. I'm always just love, light, and
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I'm red
Mm-mm.
flag is
Mm-mm.
suspect. Where's mine?
Yeah,
Where's my
it's for real. Seriously. Like,
be-
get in it with me over here. Let's see what happens. For me,
right?
yeah. And isn't that the best moment too, when you can actually be with another human being and this this beautiful soul who
Yeah,
is in their shit, who's in their
right.
stuff, who's in their struggle, and you're just
Yes,
with each other, and
yeah,
and that's beautiful. It's safe. It's
yes,
real.
yes.
That's where the real transformation can happen, when we let the mask down and we just say, this
The
is what I
mask.
got. This is
Yes,
where I'm at. And the other
yeah,
person can hold that. I mean,
exactly.
it's rare, but it's really good.
Right.
I'm
But
for it.
literally, like you said, when you drop the mask and you start like presenting your authentic self, like, yeah, you're going to lose the fake friends and the fake family and the fake people, but like you will exactly, but you will gain your authentic family, friends and your people. Like that's a real thing. The ones who will literally be able to recognize themselves in you and be like, "Oh, you're like me too. You've gone through." It's like a really beautiful thing, but you have to drop the facade. Yeah. Ugh. The last thing that I wanted to say was that you mentioned something that's really important that's taking place right now, like globally on planet Earth. It's the shift into Age of Aquarius, and we're leaving out of like the Age of Pisces, where it was just kind of led by what you said, like the stern, like man, masculine, but like kind of like the toxic masculine hierarchy or peridium of things where it was just all the masculine way. Right. But now we're stepping into where, again, like I said, this change from head to heart. And the Age of Aquarius is very much about that. And but I wanted to know if you could speak on about your experience with kind of dropping the rigidness, the harshness, and opening up to like balancing your masculine feminine and working with your emotions and things, because I think it is a really important thing that a lot of men need to embrace right now more than anything, especially if they're wishing to ascend and go to that next level, because you will not have access if your heart is closed off and it's blocked and you're just still doing this, I have no emotions and I don't feel anything and no weakness, and you're not being vulnerable. So I would love if you could speak on that and how you did it and what that process was like for you.
Thank you for that question. And believe it or not, you've said it. I mean, what you just described is really the process. For me, it had to do with the thing that I mentioned earlier, which is where I did men's work in my 40s and 50s. And it was specifically about a circle of men, a safe circle of men who had been through a series of initiation experiences that were ritual, that were loving, that were safe. And then each man, this can happen in any circle. This can happen in any way. It doesn't have to be that you have to go out into the woods to a retreat to do this. You can do this with two other people, but it's to say, I'm checking in with, or I'm carrying, or I am feeling, and then just to be still. This is the hardest thing. It's terrifying, especially for men who are
Yeah.
so cut off from their emotions,
Right.
for men in our culture who have been, and all of us, male, female, and other,
Right.
sisters, brothers, and others,
Right.
all of whom have experienced the mind, body, spirit split that our Western culture has imposed, right?
Yeah.
That to take that moment and say, I'm checking in with, and be able to say, I'm angry, and just say,
Yeah.
I'm angry. No story, nothing has to happen. Oh
Right.
my God, I'm angry, or I'm
Yeah.
angry, but I'm good, you know. But to have the ability to have trusted friends, a circle where I can say, I'm sad today. I am confused. I'm confused. And then nobody fixes it,
Yeah.
right? And I can just do this, and I process this with myself as well. It doesn't have to be in a circle of people, but for me, for other people to be around is really, really helpful. And to do this on an ongoing basis. People do this in 12 steps. People do this in therapy. People do this in men's and women's circles. People do this in energetic circles. People do this in spiritual circles. For me, it's about, earlier we were talking about how do you remember? How do you stay in your centered place by meditating and going within, quieting the mind, opening the heart?
Right.
The practice of moving into this next age, that is what I would suggest is post masculine,
Right.
right? We still want to be connected to our sacred masculine. We want to be
Right.
connected to our sacred feminine.
Right.
But we have been so cut off from the sacred masculine because we've all been tied into the factory masculine, the
Right.
success masculine,
Yeah.
the achievement masculine, the numbers masculine. And so for me, the sacred work is to go within and say, because I have feelings, but I'm not my feelings.
Right.
I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. I have a body.
Right.
I'm not this body. I'm not
Right.
contained in this. I mean, I am contained in this. I'm glad to
Right.
be in this body. Hooray.
Right.
And and there are things happening in my life, but that's not who I am. So then to be able to say, I'm feeling angry, but I'm not I'm not my anger. Like when somebody can say, oh, I'm still this sovereign being within,
Right.
and I can observe my anger, and I can observe that I'm really pissed off at you, or I can observe that I'm really sad that vote on the committee didn't go my way, or I didn't
Right.
get the raise, or my daughter's not speaking to me. I'm feeling grief about that.
Right.
To be able to own the place where we are without attachment to it
Yeah.
is, for me, in whatever circle or whatever context or whatever container is helpful, is then the bridge into doing the deeper work of this next age. The deeper work of this next age is to be able to hear each other,
Right.
like to truly collaborate and co-create, and to be able to say, I really wanted us to have a fence on the left side of the lot, and that's all this last age has been. I really want a fence on the left side of the lot,
Right.
as opposed to saying, do we need a fence?
Do we need a
Do we
fan?
need a fence at all? Is this even
Right.
what this is about? What do we feel? What do we see? What do we need? It becomes less about
Need.
me imposing what I want.
Right.
It's much more about being open to what is the thing that we're all discovering together.
Yeah.
But I still have to do the really hard work of saying, I'm I'm feeling this, or I'm carrying this, or I'm drug this in here with me today, or
Yeah.
whatever. And then but not fall apart and not freak out and not collapse. Just be safe and say, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That is the kind of presence that is going to be necessary for the age that is being created next, because we can be present to ourselves and then we can be present to each other. And it
Right.
is a practice, like it's a daily practice, it's an hourly practice. And
Right.
it's deprogramming, like it is undoing
That.
an old spell and an
Yeah.
old story. So it takes more attention, it takes more work. It's
Yeah.
hard. It just is
Yeah.
hard.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that was the big hitting question, because you mentioned it sometime early on through, what you were speaking, and I was like, oh, you have to circle back to that because that's a huge thing.
It is
It's such a
huge.
big thing.
It's important. And
Yeah.
it's what's happening. It is what's happening.
It literally is though.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And so the more tools that we can use individually and collectively in groups of people, and the more we can support each other in doing that work, the more we are creating the possibility for it to happen in ways that we can actually access and that we can be
Exactly.
part of. We have
Exactly.
to get on board with it. We have to participate with it. We have to show up. We have
Yes.
to do our work.
Yes.
So, so let's go.
Come on.
Come on.
This has been amazing, Dr. Ritt. Thank you for being here. Are there any closing statements that you want to talk about or say? And also, how can people work with you, find you, all the things?
Thank you so much. This is delightful. Thank you. Again, I honor you for your work, for your journey, for the path you are on, for the good thing that you are doing.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
thank you, thank you for that. Dr. Rick Diamond, drrickdiamond.com. My socials is always Dr. Rick Diamond on Instagram and YouTube and all the things and threads. And where else am I? Am I on? Yes, I'm on TikTok. I just got on TikTok. It's
It's
really
like,
exciting. It's like the Wild West over there.
I
It's
like how
crazy.
you're literally me. I'm like, where else am I? I'm like, am
Where
I
am I?
on that? Am I?
Am I? I'm on that. Oh my gosh. And I have clients that I work with all over the place, and we can do spiritual mentoring work, we can do coaching work, we can do story work where we look at the beliefs in the stories and take them apart, or we can do whatever's needed. And I'm just here to help and be part of people's awakening. Thanks for having me.
I love it. Thank you. And
Thank you.
we will be in touch. Please stay on. I'm going to hit the stop, but please stay on like we talked about. Thanks.